Have you ever spent hours, hours, getting a design just perfect on your screen, only to have your embroidery machine stitch out a complete, puckered, sloppy mess? Yeah, we've all been there. It's so frustrating. But what if I told you it's probably not your machine's fault? Today, we're going to dig into why turning a simple image into beautiful embroidery is so tricky and how you can finally get it right. This quote just hits the nail on the head. We often get stuck in old habits, right? Like trying to auto-convert some blurry image we found just because it seems like the easiest way. But it's exactly like insisting on using an old rotary phone when you have a smartphone in your pocket. Sure, it might eventually get the job done, but you're missing out on a much, much better and faster way of doing things. So I'm asking you seriously, are you still using that rotary phone method? Because so much of the frustration we feel with embroidery comes from just a handful of these old school habits. Let's find out if any of these sound a little too familiar.
Okay, first, let's just acknowledge that feeling. That sinking feeling in your stomach when your gorgeous on-screen design turns into a disaster on the fabric. And you just look at your expensive machine and think, why don't you get it? Why can't you just understand what I want? Well, here's the truth. It's not about the machine. It's all about the instructions we're giving it.
I love this analogy because it is so true. We stick with these bad habits because they're comfortable, They're familiar. But just like that favorite old hoodie with the holes in it, they might not be the right choice for getting a really professional result. It's time for an upgrade. So here's the absolute heart of the problem. An image file, like a JPG, is just made of pixels, tiny little squares of color. But an embroidery file? That's a completely different beast. It's a set of instructions, a roadmap telling a needle exactly where to go, what stitch to use, and when to change the thread. They're speaking two completely different languages. You can't just hit some magic auto-translate button and expect a perfect result. It's not a translation. It's a total recreation in a whole new medium. All right, let's get to the good stuff. We're going to break down the 5 most common, outdated habits that are probably sabotaging your embroidery projects. And more importantly, we're going to show you how to kick them to the curb for good. First up, habit number 1. This is the idea that you have to be some kind of digital artist, meticulously tracing every single line of your design by hand inside the software. How great is that comparison? It feels romantic, doesn't it? Like you're in total control, handcrafting every detail. But in reality, it's just so slow. And let's be honest, the final precision probably has more to do with how much coffee you've had than any real artistic talent. The modern way isn't about giving up control, it's about working smarter, not harder. Let the powerful auto-digitizing tools in your software do the heavy lifting, creating all those initial stitch paths for you. Your job then becomes the real art. You get to be the director, refining those paths, choosing the perfect stitch types, and adjusting all the little details that actually bring the design to life. Okay, habit number 2. And honestly, this might be the single biggest mistake that people make, and it has to do with the quality of the image you start with.
This is the golden rule of digitizing, for real. You just cannot expect a crisp, clean, professional embroidery design to come from some blurry, low-resolution image you snagged from a website. The software is smart, but it's not a magician. It can't invent details that just aren't there in the first place.
So the solution here is super clear. Always start with the highest quality source file you can possibly get your hands on. If a client sends you a blurry logo, you have to politely ask for a better version. Now, the holy grail, the absolute best thing you can get is a vector file, like an SVG. Because it's made of math instead of pixels, you can scale it to any size you want and it will never lose its sharp, clean edges. All right, habit number 3. This is a sneaky one. It's the trap of trusting the defaults. You import your beautiful high-res image, you hit the auto-convert button, and you just assume the software knows what's best. That is a huge mistake. And this is exactly why default settings fail you. Your software is a powerful tool, but it doesn't understand context. It has no idea that a skinny little line needs a simple run stitch, or that a big solid area of color needs a dense fill stitch, or that text needs that smooth raised satin stitch to really pop. Using one default setting for everything is just a recipe for puckered fabric and a design that looks flat and totally lifeless. Oh man, this next one is a classic rookie move. We've all been tempted to do this out of pure impatience. You've done all the work, the design looks great on your screen, and you're just so eager to see it, you rush to send it to the machine without one final check.
Look, pretty much every good digitizing program has a stitch simulator or a previewer. It is there for a reason. Use it. Think of it as your digital dress rehearsal. It will play back the exact order the machine is going to stitch everything. This is where you catch all the weird layering issues, like the background accidentally stitching on top of the foreground, before you waste a single inch of thread or a single second of your time.
Finally, our fifth habit. Now, this one is a little more subtle, but it's really important. It's assuming that one size fits all when it comes to machine files. The reality is, a PES file might stitch out perfectly on one machine and look kind of weird and distorted on another. This can happen because of tiny differences in how each machine's brain interprets things like stitch length and density. So you always want to test your designs on the specific machine you're actually going to be using.
You know, breaking that last habit really gets to the core of what we're talking about today. It's about moving past the idea of simple file types and adopting a whole new mindset. The key is to stop thinking about this as a conversion process and start seeing it for what it truly is, digitizing. This right here, this is the most important takeaway of this whole explainer. Digitizing is not a one-click conversion. It is an art form. It's the human skill of looking at a flat image and deciding how to rebuild it from the ground up as a textured, three-dimensional object made of thread. The software is your paintbrush, but you are the artist making all the creative decisions. So what does a better workflow actually look like? Well, it really just boils down to three key stages. First, the source. You have to begin with a solid foundation, a high-res or vector image. Second, the software. Use professional tools that actually give you control over every little stitch. And finally, the digitizing. This is where you do the real work, making those thoughtful, artistic choices about how you're going to build your design with thread. Okay, so now that we're in this new mindset, I know what you're probably asking. There's one question that always comes up when people start thinking this way, and it's all about that source file. Yep, this is the big one, isn't it? Everybody wants to know, what's the magic file type that's going to give me the absolute best results? So let's just break it down nice and simple. Okay, here's the quick and dirty breakdown. If you're doing logos, graphics, anything with sharp, clean lines, SVG is your best friend, period. It scales perfectly. If you're working with a design that needs a transparent background, you're going to want to go with a PNG. And JPEGs, you should really only use those for complex photographic images, and even then, you have to make sure they are super high resolution. So let's bring it all home. We've journeyed from the frustration of failed conversions all the way to the art of successful digitizing. Ultimately, it all comes down to this simple equation. It's not just about the file, and it's not just about the software. When you combine the right source image with the thoughtful skill of a person, of a digitizer, that's when you get professional results, every single time. So I want to leave you with this question for your next project. When you sit down to start, ask yourself, is this an art piece or is it a technical challenge? The real answer is that the very best embroidery is always, always both. And when you finally embrace that beautiful blend of art and technology, you are going to be amazed at what you can create.